Yes, good morning, everyone, and so nice to have you on the call this morning.
Yes, good morning. Happy Saturday. We think it's number 4 as far as quarantine. So way to hang in there, everyone. As you know, we've been talking about what's going on here, and that is the perfect storm. So when we're looking at what's going on and what we're all being exposed to, this is the perfect storm as far as everything that we're being exposed to, but also our aging population, the crowding of the cities, the electromagnetic fields, the non-native in particular, that are starting to get amped up on the globe. And then when we're looking at how people have changed their diet and their lifestyle, getting further away from nature, and all of this has created truly immune compromised individuals. It meets a highly contagious virus, and boom, here we go, the perfect storm. So, Dr. Chris, do you want to add anything with this particular slide?
No, let's just move into how we can help each other here with lifestyle.
Great.
So we all know that we're impacted directly to our lungs and through our small intestine, and the reason is because the receptor site that the virus attaches to is most prevalent in these tissue. The receptor site, the ACE2 receptor site that they've scientifically shown this particular virus attaches to is throughout the body, but most prevalent in the lungs and then the small intestine. And this is why you're seeing all the respiratory issues that exist. So we want to help you understand how to boost your immunity and deal with a virus that isn't very virulent, but is highly contagious. And all the factors that Dr. Tina mentioned that come together are just making this thing spread. And we feel that if you can build your immunity, that's the best response, and will protect you no matter what your circumstances are. So, Dr. Tina, anything else to add?
No, we'll go to the next one here. Thank you. When we look at what the focus is out here in the world and the mass media, they're focused on going after the virus. They're focused on, what do we do to attack it? What do we do to stop it? And how do we stop spreading it? Those are all good and okay. However, we have a different perspective here, and this is about our immune system and building our immune system, because our immune system is our human operating system. We've been exposed to viruses. We will continue to be exposed to viruses. And when we have a strong immune system, and this has been going on for hundreds of years, by the way, all of these different viruses that we're exposed to, but if we can keep our immune system strong, we'll fundamentally take care of our entire body. And if you think of it as an operating system, kind of like software of a computer, how it works, if we break the rules of that operating system, the body's going to break down. And our immune system is extremely powerful, and it responds to everything we're exposed to, whether it's our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, our reactions, everything we eat, everything we drink, touch, smell, toxins. I mean, it's all affected. Our immune system gets touched by this. So we have to realize that we're really, truly interconnected. And our immune system is meant to be stressed a little bit because it exercises it. It makes it stronger, but it's not meant to be overstressed. And that's what we're seeing in this perfect storm. So we just have to, that's going to be our focus today. How do we help you with that?
One of the key ingredients in our formulation of Telo Youth is the aloe vera gel extract. And why it's so important is because the immune system is layered. It has two specific, let's say, immune layers. And from the standpoint, there's an innate dynamic to the immune system, meaning this is what's there in the moment and is what keeps us strong and protected from our environment and our day-to-day activities. And the other portion is the acquired, and this is when something new enters our system, then our immune system learns to how to combat it, how to build the defense mechanisms, you know, the bullets and bombs it needs to destroy this new foreign invader. And this is what conventional medicine primarily looks at, the acquired system. And the acquired system is, you know, boosted with vaccines and different approaches. But we'd like to support the full range of the immune system, help that innate response. And the innate response is really what goes into action immediately to attack any type of virus. The aloe is very powerful to boost the antimicrobial dynamics of the immune system, so it can recognize something immediately as a foreign invader. It helps to control the inflammatory response, and this one is so key because the balance of intracellular antioxidants, what comes from within the cell that is built up with our Telo youth, has the ability to use inflammation to attack that foreign invader, but at the same time turn off the inflammation so that you don't get exposed to these cytokine storms that are being reflected so much in today's issues with the fatalities and the extreme cases of illness that occurs with this virus. So immune modulating is really what we're talking about, the ability to turn up when it's weak and to turn down when it's overreacting. And that's what our aloe vera gel and chaga and just all the combined components of Telo Youth do for us.
Exactly. And this aloe vera gel is very special and unique because it's not the kind of aloe vera gel that you get at the store. It's handcrafted, comes from very pristine volcanic regions, and it's not chemically extracted. So, and it's dried at a very low heat. So we do not denature it. It's very, very highly concentrated and highly potent. So we're going to talk about, today, get a little bit more into what are these stressors that are weakening our immune system. So we're going to talk about these non-native EMFs and what you can do, disrupting also our circadian rhythms. What does that do? And then talking about how do we support the microbiome, because when we talk about the perfect storm, these are the three things that are really stressing the immune system. So go ahead, Dr. Price. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, when you talk about the electromagnetic fields, we're energy beings first. So we start out as energy to make our bodies work physiologically and biologically. And but it's the energy that we've evolved with, what we get from the planet, from the earth when we're grounded, the electromagnetic field from the earth. And then most importantly is the sun. Everything comes from the sun. Every nutrient you can imagine is sourced from the sun. So when we talk about rainbow foods, think about the full spectrum of light that comes from sunlight. But when you go outside of the health spectrum, which you see here in this full spectrum of electromagnetic fields, you really get into the trauma and the damage that can occur when you're overexposed to these other frequencies. And our evolution as societies has really taken hold and grasped these new technologies, and they may be great conveniences, but we don't realize the dangers that they pose on the body. So when you look at the technology, we're seeing a whole nother invisible invader. So what makes this virus so virulent, even though it's not that strong of a virus, is the fact that we as a culture have become weaker. And the reason, one of the main reasons for that is this electromagnetic field exposure that we're introducing. And
exactly. Over the years, we've been exposed to they're becoming highly concentrated. So they're overstressing our system. And when you think about what's happening with the 4G, 5G conversion, you know, if you can think of the 4G system, or the 4G plus even, as a 2-lane highway, and then think of the 5G implementation as an 8-lane highway with no speed limits. That's the kind of intensity that we're moving into. And there's no mistake that Wuhan, China, you know, first of all, China was the first country to install over 130,000 of these 5G towers. And what's happening, just in Wuhan alone, there were 10,000 of them that were turned on in 2019. And they started early in 2019, but by the time they hit November, all 10,000 were rapidly deployed and actually turned on. So they were in an extremely intense environment, which created a more perfect storm for them. And just to give you kind of an example, in the United States alone, we have 10,000 of these 5G towers approximately, you know, deployed. And when you see New York City is a very highly concentrated 5G area, and where you look at some of these other outbreaks, just kind of keep that in mind. You know, we just don't think that there's some, you know, conspiracy theory here going on, but we're looking at the science. And if you look at even the science of, there was a bioinitiative report done in 2012 where these highly you know, respected scientists came together, and they warned about the risks for all of these electromagnetic fields and these wireless technologies, and they were proving that it actually damages your DNA, you know, affects your memory, your learning behaviors, attention, sleep disruption, causes cancer and neurological diseases. So you can look that up to get more information, but there is no mistake what's happening here.
Well, this is the actual physiology that has been proven what these electromagnetic fields do. One of the first things that traumatizes the cell is you lose the electrolyte balance, and that's the mineral balance. And specifically with a cell, it has a perfect balance between calcium and magnesium. And when you expose yourself to these electromagnetic fields, especially at the intensity that we're experiencing now, we have an incredible increase of calcium ions. That's that Ca++ you see, that arrow that infuses itself into the cell. It creates a cascade of disruption, and that because the balance is lost within the internal mechanics and the dynamics of the cell. So you start creating more free radicals. And what are free radicals? Well, free radicals are what causing the inflammatory response. And when the free radicals are in excess, because you know free radicals are part of our immunity, it's the way that we destroy foreign invaders. But when they get overproduced, then you get an inflammatory response, and you lose the ability to repair the cell. You lose the ability to repair the little engines in the cell, the mitochondria. That's what the word mitophagy there means. And apoptosis means cell death. When a cell has exhausted itself and is broken down, then it has a self-destruction mechanism. And when you destroy that mechanism, then you open yourself up to all kinds of illnesses, especially cancers, because cancer is a damaged cell, a form of a cell that grows out of control. You see a B12 dilemma, and that B12 is so essential to the metabolic functions of a cell. So when you damage the ability to use B12 appropriately, you again destroy cellular function. So as you break down cellular function, you see destruction in the tissue, and destruction in the tissue means destruction in the organs, and then organ failure, which we're seeing at the highest levels of this infection. Then the people really become involved with serious serious illnesses and fatalities that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. So there's a layer of destruction that goes on here, and we're trying to help everyone understand that you can build your immunity and your defense system, at the highest levels, so that you don't start this destruction. You start, protecting yourself from the beginning and build that immunity that we're talking about. Dr. Tina, anything else you'd like to add, or shall we move on?
We'll move on. So we do know that 70%, if not 80% of our immune system resides in our gut. And when Dr. Chris was talking earlier, he said that the virus likes to implant in 2 places of the body, the lungs and the small intestine. So it's really important that we continue to support the good bacteria. And unfortunately, in our society, based on some of those things that we already talked about with diet, lifestyle, chemicals, toxicity, fluorides, chlorine, you name it, we have to have clean water, but what do? We put chlorine in it. We unfortunately fluoridate our water. And all of that really puts pressure on the good bacteria, forces it to die, and then the bad bacteria can come in and take over. And so we have to be able to take a look at how do we reinforce the good bacteria. And this is when, for instance, if you've even had an antibiotic, most people have been exposed to an antibiotic. And that means, it's going to destroy both the good bacteria and the bad bacteria in the gut. And so we need to take a step back and look at what can we do. And this has to be on a daily basis, because the real estate inside our gut, if you took it and laid it out, it would lay out to the size of a tennis court. There's so much inside our gut that we have to help make healthy here. And the things to do are to eat fermented foods. Make sure you're incorporating fermented foods on a daily basis. This is done in all cultures, where it's either natto with the Japanese, or you have the kimchis with a lot of the Asian countries, or you have sauerkraut in Germany. There are so many different good bacteria that we need to keep supporting our gut. And the other thing is you can take a great probiotic, prebiotic. And the key with those is to rotate them. You want to make sure that you're rotating all of those so that you're getting all kinds of different strains, because a healthy immune system means we have a very diverse bacteria set in our gut. So I'm just as guilty as maybe some of you, but I like my favorite foods. And so I limit what I eat. If I'm going to make something, I tend to make the same things. And I get into this mono diet. It's one of the worst things that we can do. We really, truly have to have a diverse diet so that our gut has the good, diverse bacteria in it. So, take a look at also one of the things that really affects our gut is alcohol, excess sugar, medications, glyphosates. When we're looking at glyphosates, those are the chemicals that are used to grow our foods. And, I won't say the M word, but most of you know on this call what I'm talking about. But we need to make sure you're trying to get as much organic as possible, because those glyphosates really affect our bacteria in our gut, our DNA. And so we need to be able to eat that good, clean food. So Dr. Chris, what else would you like to add? Because this is a really important area that we need to focus on.
Well, it is, because we don't realize that our gut actually makes some specific vitamins that we need for our health and well-being. So if those good bacteria don't exist in the GI tract, then we're not making the nutrient that we need. And one of the first areas too that we feel discomfort is digestion. And this area impacts, our ability to break down food as well as assimilate it. And so such a key part of the body. And the overall immunity is impacted, like we say right here, said by 70%. So it's certainly an area that we got to pay close attention to. And one of the keys that we talk about in our next slide is about the circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm plays a key role in the microbiome because the exposure to the sun is really supports the microbiome. And even though we don't see it happening, directly, it has a great impact. And the sun is the most broad spectrum nutrient that we can provide ourselves. It's how we've evolved, as I mentioned earlier. And so when we talk about what we're dealing with today with this virus, is that we need to understand that the fear factor plays such a key component because the mind is the most powerful pharmacist. It's what triggers the responses in the body. And we're trying to help you understand the ways you can protect yourself so you can lose the fear and calm and live in a much more peaceful and less stressful environment. And then understand how to interface with nature again. So, going out into the morning sun, getting that infrared spectrum that is so important to producing the, biological nutrients that we need, the melatonins and the dopamines, what helps us sleep well at night and what helps us have energy during the day. And it really turns on the switches that are so important. And then during the midday, the sun is so important then, 30 to 60 minutes, depending upon your own, let's say genetics, your exposure to the sun is very important from the standpoint of helping you make vitamin D. The UVA and UVB light that comes in the afternoon where it's most dominant supports the microbiome and makes a very key component to our immune system, and that's vitamin D. So it's just not about healthy bones and tissue with vitamin D, it's about our immune system. I've talked to many doctors who refer to it as a self-vaccination. So if you really want to support your defense system, get that vitamin D built up naturally, because when you take it from the standpoint of artificially, you're breaking feedback loops. So we're recommending specific foods that your body recognizes to capture vitamin D, and we're showing you how nature provides it through sunlight. And then, of course, as the cycle winds down, it's important that you get the light signals from the sun that show it's time to turn off the cortisol, it's time to turn off the energy producing chemicals and start to release the melatonin that you built up, from the first morning sun. And then when you release this melatonin, you go into a nice healing sleep. And, Dr. Tina, melatonin does so many things, so much more than just helping us sleep.
Absolutely. And just to back up, one of the best sources of vitamin D foods is chaga, and we do have that in our formula as well as a food source. So your body's going to utilize it and build that vitamin D reserve. But melatonin, when we have melatonin reduction at night, we don't sleep. We just can't sleep. But it's produced from our pineal gland. And it's so important to understand this. Our pineal gland is being assaulted by these glyphosates and also by fluoride and excess calcium. So it stops the normal regulation of our pineal gland. And so when we have that reduced melatonin and we don't sleep, our risk of cancer goes up, childhood leukemia goes up, DNA damage has the potential to go up. But when it's in balance and we can sleep again, it's a powerful antioxidant. It's an antidepressant. it's an immune system enhancer, and not only an enhancer but a regulator. So it also regulates that circadian cycle here that Dr. Chris is talking about. And when we have low energy and low resilience and greater stress, we know our cortisols go up. When our cortisols go up, our melatonin goes down. When we're in this chronic stressed state, that's when our cortisol gets locked in these higher levels, and that's when we have poor sleep. So when you take Telo Youth, we have the ability, clinically proven, to unlock that cortisol, bring that back down so that your melatonin can go up. You can get that good, deep, rejuvenating sleep. And how do we do that? It's with our fertilized tissue extract from Norway because of the pre-embryonic molecules. And we call this our super rejuvenator and super recharger. And this is the ingredient that has been clinically proven to lower stress by measuring cortisols. And there's a study in your library. If you're a member, you can have access to the studies. And then we also partnered the FTE with the Rhodiola Rosea because it helps calm the mind, the body, and emotions, and helps us to adapt to stress. And what more could we need now in this time? Something to help us handle the stress, because our stresses aren't necessarily going to go away, but we have to be able to work with the stress, and that's what these two ingredients do as well, amongst many other things that they do. But today we're specifically talking about helping with the stress, because that excess stress is going to actually put too much pressure on the immune system, lowering our immunity. Dr. Chris, do you have anything else to add on this?
Well, again, the stress mediation is so critical because it supports that melatonin cycle that we need, that's so important. And also the ability to reduce inflammation and regenerate has to do with stem cells, and the fertilized tissue extract has been clinically shown to boost our stem cell activity. It takes old cells and makes them new again. So this is a very synergistic formula that supports the overall rejuvenation and repair and anti-aging properties of the body. So you see, you know, when a cell is in harm's way or is damaged in any way, it sends out signals, and those signals are caught by the immune system, and the immune system has this incredible ability, as Dr. Tina says, it's the operating system, and it knows where to send the communication and to build the defense mechanisms up so that we activate the stem cell release response out of our bone marrow and our bones, where the stem cells are manufactured and these stem cells are released. And we now know specifically that the embryonic signals that are available from our young tissue, extract, the fertilized tissue extract, that it has the ability to activate our stem cells, but not just activate them, but to renew them. So we have these stem cells that are in the body that are aging with the body. And when these embryonic signals come from the fertilized tissue extract, they essentially rejuvenate our stem cells. And our stem cells repair tissue, as well as introduce mitochondria, which are the energy factories to help the cells in the neighboring tissue repair and regenerate. So it's an incredible orchestration that goes on, and we're excited to help you understand how it works.
You know, we have so much that the formula does, and we're not spending a lot of time on, stem cell and stem cell production and activation. We'll probably have to do this in a separate webinar where we can get more detailed in this, because this is so powerful to help with, all areas of the body with inflammation and helping to bring the entire body back into balance, depending on what's going on in your specific body. So depending on your unique DNA blueprint, your unique journey, this particular function of our formula can do so much for you, including, reducing the stress. So let's talk a little bit about what you can do. If you have a phone, take a picture of this particular slide and the next slide, because these are going to be good things for you to just incorporate into your everyday life. And the first one we want to talk about is intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating. And this is important because Dr. Chris was talking about that autophagy or mitophagy and on that cellular slide earlier. And what we want to do is promote what we call autophagy. It's a fairly new term that's out there. And autophagy means self-eating. And it's a good thing. It means that the body will clean out its own damaged cells and toxins, and then you can rejuvenate or regenerate newer, healthier cells. Your body does this all on its own. And so when we limit the time that we eat and have less or no calories in a larger window of the day, our body can do this for itself. So it has this unique way of ridding itself of all the faulty parts, and defending itself naturally against disease. And think of your body as a kitchen. And after you make a meal, you clean up the counter, you throw away your leftovers, and you recycle some of your food. And the next day, you wake up, you go into your kitchen, it's all clean. Well, this is autophagy. This is what's happening inside your body, and it does it very well. Now think of the same scenario, and you're a little bit older, your body's not as efficient. After you make a meal, you leave some of the remnants on the counter. Some of it gets into the garbage, some of it doesn't. Some of the scraps linger on the counter, in the garbage or the recycling bin, and they never make it outside to that dumpster. The toxic waste then is building up inside your kitchen. It becomes fermented, it starts to smell, it's not doing its thing, it's accumulating inside. It's like accumulating inside your body. And because of everything that we're just being onslaught with pollutants and toxins, our body is having a hard time keeping up with this daily grind. So this resembles autophagy that's not working as well as it should. So we can increase our autophagy by incorporating the intermittent fasting or the time-restricted eating. And this helps us with longevity. We can actually live longer and healthier by having this, this practice on a daily basis. And start slow if you haven't started it. 12 hours of when you can eat and 12 hours of absolutely no calories. And then start to shrink that window of eating time. And ideally, if you can get that down to 6 hours a day where you only consume calories within 6 hours, and the other time it's 0 calories, you will have a very efficient self-cleaning system. And there's so many benefits to this. It's just incredible. And Dr. Chris, you want to add anything to that before I move into some of these other ones?
No, let's move into other areas because there's so much here to talk about. Go for it.
Great. The restorative sleep, we have to get 8 hours plus. And we talked about sleep and why sleep is important, your melatonin, your circadian rhythms. But getting that good restorative sleep is going to help us rejuvenate, just like babies get that deep sleep. When we're sleeping deep, that's when our stem cells are really going to work and activating. That's when our inflammation, our fire is going out in the body. Dr. Chris talked about the sunshine, how important it is to get out in that sun. Couple of things here. Try not to wear your sunglasses all the time when you're out in the sun. Allow your eyes to get some of that great, especially morning sun and night sun. And talking about, we've been inundated with, we have to put sunscreen on. If you're going to be out in the sun long periods of time, get a non-toxic, sunscreen. But we really do recommend. I very rarely ever wear sunscreen, and very rarely in my life. And I always get told you have to be wearing it, and I don't believe in it. So take that for what it's worth and do what you need to do. And it's going to depend on your skin tone as well. So there's a lot of different things to take into consideration there.
That's so.
Vitamin. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Dr. Dean, it's an individual thing that you need to understand your own genetics, you know, your skin type and things. But the sun is so key, and understand that colds and flus, they diminish greatly in the spring and the summer. Why? Because in the northern latitudes, you're getting more sun. And this is, again, validates that the nutrient and the energetic dynamics of the sun itself. So the other thing that is coming out more with the science is understanding how the sun, the ultraviolet C that comes from the sun actually kills viruses. And if you're concerned about your mail that comes in every day, just leave it out in the sun for 15 to 30 minutes and it'll totally destroy any type of a microbe that's there. Because again, the ultraviolet C is what's used in technology in the hospitals to sterilize equipment and to make sure that there's no microbial residue or infestation on anything that they're using. So we have a natural source of this purifying ultraviolet, and we can take advantage of it. And it has so much to do with reconnecting with nature and getting our cycles back, as Dr. Tina was mentioning.
Great, yes, and the vitamin C with the sunshine, going into the vitamin C, 1 to 2 grams a day for prevention. I just read an article that China ordered in 30 tons of vitamin C into their country because they understand and are seeing that the vitamin C is something that really helps with the virus. The D3, K2, and A, again, that, sunshine is the best way to get some of those. And then we definitely recommend getting in your good fats, the omega-3s. Cod liver oil is going to cover the D3, the K2, and the A, and the omega. So if you get a good cod liver oil, there are fermented cod liver oils out there. We don't like to really put out, where you get them from, but I'm sorry, I have to tell, the only one I found that's really good is Green Pastures out of Nebraska. So, they're probably getting inundated right now because we're talking about it so much, but it's a great compliment to your fellow youth as well.
And we have to say we have no financial connection with our shameless plug, but I'm so glad you mentioned that, Dr. Tina.
Thank you. Yeah, we don't have any connection financially with them. So exercise, this promotes autophagy. This promotes so many things. We hear about it all the time. We've gotten so far away from exercise, high intensity training. You can do that in 20 minutes. You're done. Weight training is excellent as well. Outdoors is ideal. Get that good fresh air. Be out there exercising. Dr. Chris, what do you want to talk about with exercise? Anything specific or?
It boosts your immune system. So, in all the ways you're talking about.
Okay.
Can't say enough about it.
Great. Hydration. A good guideline is take your body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, half of that in ounces of water a day, 100 ounces. So that's minimally. If you're drinking coffee and tea or getting caffeine, you want to increase that a little bit with an extra 8 ounce or 2 ounces or 8 ounces of water, 2 8-ounce glasses of water per day per cup of coffee or tea. Wear a mask. We've been talking about that. Some cities are going to be requiring to wear a mask now going out in public. Practice your social distancing, wash your hands often, take your time washing your hands. This next slide, did you have anything to add to those? Sorry, Dr. Chris.
Well, I just wanted to, there's one key nutrient that is so critical, and I think you got it on this slide here, the essential minerals and things you're talking about, but the zinc is so key. And why zinc? Because it's specifically an antiviral has an antiviral and antimicrobial effect inside the cell. And the thing about zinc is that it requires certain cofactors to be absorbed. And something as simple as tonic water, it's quinine water that you hear about with, mixing a cocktail. Well, you can easily get tonic water at the grocery store and just drink, a few ounces with your 50 milligrams of zinc, and all of a sudden you've got a boosted immune system unlike anything else that you can imagine. So this is not only as a preventative, but also for a resolution of any type of microbe that's infested the system. So these are the kinds of things, these little tidbits that are so important to know, and they're so natural and easy to do. And
Yeah.
why don't you just run down this list, because this is lifestyle at its best.
Right. So, hey guys, this is what I'm going to recommend. If you don't catch something we're saying, please type it in the chat so that we don't get inundated afterwards with more questions like what kind of zinc, how much zinc. So if you want to know specific questions to what we're bringing up, if you could please put it in chat, because if you have a question about it, guess what? I would bet somebody else on this webinar has it as well. So we welcome your chat questions. We have some that we're going to answer at the end of this as well. Okay, guys and gals, protect yourself from radiation. We are not in alignment with one company on what you need to do to protect yourself from radiation. However, what we do recommend is get something on your cell phone, get something on your computer, put your phone in airplane mode as often as you possibly can. Keep it away from you at night. Your EMFs in your home, get your home tested, or get an EMF like reader. You can get one of those. See what you can do to research and take care of all of this non-native electromagnetic toxicity that you're being exposed to, because that's gonna, if you can offset some of that, that will help your immune system as well. One stone that comes out of Russia is called shungite, shungite. I personally wear a shungite bracelet and sometimes a necklace. So it's just a great way to be able to offset and protect myself from this radiation. Dr. Chris, do you have anything to add there?
No, this is great. Go for it. Keep going.
Probiotics, thank you. Probiotics, prebiotics, we talked about that. Eat fermented foods every day. It takes forever to rebuild the good bacteria in your gut. It's not a once a week, once a month thing. You need to do this daily. Essential minerals, we talked about that. Dr. Chris did. Melatonin. Your melatonin production is important. We discussed that. Your chaga, which is on the next line, has the ability to help with your melatonin or your melanin in your skin, which means you can go out in the sun and not get burned. Medicinal mushrooms, very important for building your immune system. There are other ones as well, like lion's mane, but you have the chaga already in your Telo youth, reishi, cordyceps. So check out medicinal mushrooms if you need to. Hyperthermia, heat. Infrared sauna is the best, or far infrared, getting that spectrum. Get yourself into a hot bath, sweat, or exercise. This is about getting yourself exposed to heat, making sure you're sweating, getting those toxins out. Eat a rainbow diet. All of the colors, like the spectrum of the sun, creates all of these wonderful phytonutrients. So when you're making a salad or making a dinner, at every meal, think of something fresh and something very colorful that you can have on your plate. Consume less sugar, alcohol, and processed foods. Incorporate those healthy fats, your avocados, your healthy oils, your nuts, your seeds. Reduce the stress. Dr. Chris, what else would you like to add?
Well, just from the news, and those that are health advocates, they hear about like other nutrients like N-acetylcysteine, Well, what this is it's a nutrient that supports your own glutathione production. This is one of your cellular antioxidants. And just taking cruciferous foods helps to produce this naturally. So your diet will play such a key role in allowing you to make the components that your body's looking to do. So it's just not about supplementing externally as much as it is this good lifestyle and food intake, concentrated nutrients, and again the ferments that support the microbiome. So this is the recipe that we're trying to share with you here this morning.
Yes, and the cruciferous vegetables, that's great. That's your cabbages, your broccolis, just Google that, cruciferous vegetables, incorporate those into your diet. The other thing is we had a question as well, as far as, can I take my Telo youth and open it up and put it into a food and take it that way because they can't swallow a capsule? And the answer is absolutely yes. And you're going to want to put it into a cold food. You do not want to put it in a heated food. So you can take it and mix it in. We highly recommend like yogurt because it's a protein, and put it in with your yogurt and mix it up. Dr. Chris, anything else you want to add with that one?
No, other than just don't make it with a meal because you're just competing with so many other nutrients and things that your body has to absorb. So if you can isolate it away from a meal and take it with in a fluid, or else like Dr. Tina said, in a little bit of yogurt, but not a whole cupful. Just take enough so that you can get more from the capsule, what's inside the capsule, than you would from the food itself. So make the concentration. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of pets, aren't going to take a capsule. So a lot of pet owners will take the capsule and open it up and mix it in with the dog or cat's food. So yes, it can definitely be taken and it won't degrade the formula. So, all right.
So, all of these recommendations we've made today is just how your body works. And we're just teaching you how to build back your innate immunity. And there's so many layers to this immune response. And all of these layers have to break down in order for this virus to take hold. So when you practice the things we shared with you here today, again, this is an educational call. It's not designed to treat, cure, or ameliorate any kind of illness or disease. You want to work with your healthcare practitioner, but understand the dynamics of just good lifestyle and nutrient support and circadian cycles, to pay attention to what nature has gives us and continues to give us, allows us to have multiple layers of defense mechanisms, because this virus has to, first of all, you have to be exposed to it. It has to get into your tissue. And then it has about 3 layers to penetrate into the cell that activates different enzymes. That these nutrients support the ability for each one of those layers to be strong and healthy to defend you, because that virus needs to get inside your nucleus in order to replicate itself. And then once it replicates, then it destroys the cell, and then that's how it spreads. But we're showing you how to prevent it from even getting there. This is why so many people that have been exposed don't have symptoms. And the reason they don't have symptoms is because they have this innate immunity built up strong enough so that they don't even have to experience the virus, even though they've been exposed to it. Why younger individuals are so much stronger to defeating this virus, because of their energy potential, which essentially is their immunity. We say it's the redox potential, but it's your energy, and your energy makes your immunity, and your immunity defends you. So just want to thank you all for being on today's call. Anything you want to close with, Dr. Tina? I just really appreciate our opportunity here to share all this information with everyone.
Yes, absolutely. So by taking your Telo Youth, it is an amazing immune boosting formula. Not only that, it has the stem cell activation in it, which now they're showing that that's a treatment for COVID-19, an effective treatment for COVID-19. So you want to build your immunity as much as you possibly can. And it helps you mediate your stress, handle your stress. You'll be able to sleep better. So you'll be far, far ahead of the game, not only with just building your immunity, but getting those hormones back in balance, bringing that cortisol down, and then going into true rejuvenation with all of the stem cell production, release, and activity as well. So thank you, everyone.